Hey guys, welcome back to the Gloria Living channel. My name is Hannah, and today we are talking about different growing mediums. We're going to be talking about soil, straw, wood chips, what you can be using these for in your garden, what to avoid. And guys, let's just get into it because honestly, I think they're all great. You might be a little bit of a garden nerd if you get pumped up about being able to grow in wood chips or straw bales or anything like that, but you know what? You are not alone, because I think this is so cool that there are so many different ways of growing food. And honestly, it just always amazes me, the mercy of God, that you can grow in all these different mediums and that they break down and create amazing soil for your plants. But I want to get down into talking about them today and talking about the different ways you can be growing plants at home and the different ways you can use things like straw and wood chips. Now, obviously, everybody knows that you can grow plants in soil. I'm not going to talk too much about growing in soil. I am just going to say a few things that it's good to have good nutrition in your soil, to have a good aerated soil, to have soil that is not rock hard so that your plants can grow and thrive and produce roots in them. It doesn't mean you can't grow in clay. I do it here in East Tennessee, but they are going to be happier in a more fertile soil. My mix of soil that I use is I like to get a good potting soil as well as some manure and as well as sand, and I mix those in. I don't have a perfect mix at this point, and honestly, in some of my buckets, I feel like my proportions were a little off looking at some of the colors that I have, and I don't know if they're lack of water, if these have just dried out in these pots more, or if I just need to do something to the soil to amend it and to help it. Either way, it's good to practice with getting your amounts, do your research, and make sure you get a good combination. Different plants like different types of soils. There are ones that like sandier soils. There are plants that like more acidic soils, less acidic soils. There's all sorts of things that you can consider. I will say, if you're a new gardener, don't get too stressed about your soil. Put something in the ground and do the best you can, because the Lord really does bless it. We grow in clay soil over at our large garden at our family's house, and everything does really, really well. It doesn't mean we haven't done anything or added anything to the soil, but for the most part, it really does just kind of take care of itself. With all that being said, I have full intentions of really building awesome soil whenever we can have land or a house of our own and have somewhere that we're going to be for several years, because it's really worth it. And there are so many ways of building up soil, whether that's using grass clippings, leaves, and even, like we're going to talk about, straw and wood chips. So let's get into those. Okay, let's start talking about straw, and we'll leave wood chips for last because honestly, that's what I'm most excited about these days. But growing in straw. First off, let's also distinguish between hay and straw. You might not think it makes a difference. You might just think they're different terms for the same thing, but they're really not. And although to the naked eye, they look very similar, if not the same, they actually are very different. So what you're going to want to use for gardening is straw, just to be clear. Hay is what is used to feed plant-eating animals like cows. You'll see those huge rolls of hay that have been collected for cows to eat during the wintertime. That is not what actually you want to use for your garden. Hay is a collection of grasses and like things like alfalfa for animals to eat, but that is not what straw is. Straw is something totally different. Straw is the leftover, like, byproduct of things like rye and wheat and so on. They are actually, once that has been harvested, they are what is left over, a hollow stem from the rye, the wheat, barley, whatever, that is then collected and used for things like bedding. Although this isn't going to have high nutritional value for animals to eat or something that they would maybe want or desire and help them, it can still have value in its decomposing in your garden, and it can still be used for growing in. There are whole books on the subject of growing in straw bales, and people who have done this and brought this to other countries in order to grow gardens in areas where the soil is absolutely terrible. And guys, I gotta say, I absolutely love that. I love that there are so many ways to grow successfully, no matter where you are, and by just getting creative. And so growing in straw is something you can actually do. You can grow in straw bales. But straw is not just used for that. You can also use it as a weed barrier and to get better soil over time. The main uses for straw that we have used in our garden is weed barrier. We did that a few years ago, but also one of the other ways we used it was for growing potatoes last year, which people have done, and they grow potatoes in straw, which is a really which feels like an easier way than growing them in soil. Not as much digging. You can put them in containers and put the straw in and grow the potatoes. Potatoes will I feels like potatoes want to grow in almost anything. A warning about straw though, as I mentioned earlier, straw is like the byproduct, the leftover hollow stem from crops like rye, wheat, and barley. Well, what we know about those crops is that they are heavily sprayed with herbicides. Some of the herbicides that can be used are things like broadleaf herbicides, which will kill off some of your plants like tomatoes, peppers, grapes, so on, that are broadleaf plants. And if this herbicide is being used in that straw and it is in the straw, it can actually hurt your garden. This problem expands past just even the straw, but also what is sprayed on hay that can be eaten by animals, and then that manure be collected and sold can also poison your garden. Now, some people maybe are hesitant to believe that, but a lot of people have had a lot of issues and had their gardens totally fried and killed by herbicides that were either in the compost that they got or the straw that they were using. So guys, please be careful. Do your best to source these from cleaner sources that are really careful on who they're getting their straw from, and your compost even as well. That brings us to our last medium I want to talk about today, which is wood chips. And guys, I love wood chips. Wood chips are amazing. And you know what? Wood chips, if you live in certain areas, you can get for free. And I'm not talking mulch that's dyed and stained in the stores. I'm talking about just plain wood chips that you can get from arborists and tree service guys in your area who want to be able to dump off the chips that they have gotten from jobs they've done. And there's a thing called Chip Drop that you can use and get free wood chips. My husband is a tree service man, so we have access to just wood chips without having to go through Chip Drop. And guys, this is the first year that I've really used wood chips because of that. And it is awesome. I'm going to show you a few things behind me in a moment, but I also want to talk about some of the methods that people do use wood chips for. I'm going to show you that I'm actually growing things in wood chips, but I also want to talk about why they are great for weed barrier. We have put wood chips, just extra ones, over just grass over here, and it just absolutely suppressed the grass. Now, it is in a somewhat shaded area, so it's a mix of shade and sun depending on the part of the day, and I don't know if that's why it helps so much, but obviously people use wood chips for suppressing weeds, obviously. But it's great in gardens, and there are methods of gardening where you are layering wood and compost to build up your soil. Those wood chips break down and will make amazing soil for you in your garden while suppressing weeds and while also keeping in moisture. All right guys, I want to show you here. You see this, these are wood chips and they're very dry. You can hear just how dry they are on top. I'm going to show you what they look like underneath here. Once you dig a few inches down, look at that. Can you see the color difference there? They're wet and moist. That is just the natural way wood chips work. If you had this in your garden covering your soil, it's gonna keep the moisture in, and that is gonna be way better for your plants. I also like to use these on my fruit trees. I don't have them all filled in right now, but that also is gonna help keep moisture in, as well as decompose and feed my plants. What also amazes me is that although it will keep the grass down, what you can see here is a pumpkin plant that has popped through that we smashed last year. That was hardy enough to get through the wood chips, even though the grass wasn't. But now we're gonna talk a little bit about how I've been experimenting this year just for fun in our backyard. If I see an area I can try and grow something in, I just have to take advantage of it. So if you can see behind me, this is what we built for our strawberries to hold all our strawberry plants, or most of them. This holds 24 strawberry plants, and we have them in buckets, and it's just a little more attractive than having them all on the ground like we have our blueberries over there. When we built this, it doesn't have a bottom or anything of this square. If you've not seen the video, I can try and remember to put it in the description or put a link right here for you to go check it out. Either way, underneath here, it was just sitting on grass, and so the grass was gonna grow up underneath this rectangular frame, which was gonna be a pain in the butt to take care of. Who likes to weed whack, especially around buckets? What a pain. So I had asked my husband if he had wood chips or if we could just chip some things into here. Well, we were first just testing out his new chipper and putting them in here, and then we wanted to get more and use it. And so we did that. And in fact, we had so much that it was kind of piling up behind here. And I just had this thought after I'd planted my potatoes over at our big garden and had extra. What if I just threw potatoes in there? What would happen? Well, I'm behind on the times, and apparently other people know this is already a fantastic idea. But I didn't, so I was excited, and I'm hoping you will be too. They grew, and they were super happy. So I was like, well, what else can I grow in wood chips? Well, apparently lots. So I've tried other things. Some things died. Some things are, they're alive, but are they thriving? No. And some things are doing just fine. So I'm gonna show you what we're growing here in our wood chips, and yeah, I'm just excited. Now, obviously, the real test is when you harvest things. If no harvest comes, we know that those plants needed maybe wood chips with some soil mixed in with it. If I put soil, I barely put any with all of these, but I'll show you what we've got here. I'll show you how they're doing, and yeah, let's check it out. Okay, so in between our strawberry plants is where I put our potatoes. You can see them down here. They are doing awesome, and they were way easier to hill because they were wood chips and not soil. And so those are down pretty deep. I might hill them up a little bit more, but I don't care if they're huge. I just want to know if it would work. And I like little potatoes. You boil them, put salt and butter on them. I mean, that's an awesome size, tiny potatoes. So anyways, super excited to harvest those. I've got still some more time, but I'm really, really excited once it's time to pull those out. They're doing awesome though. And it made me realize that because wood chips are so much easier to use and can be cheaper to source than soil can be, are there more things I could be growing in wood chips? Okay, this guy is small and sad. He's a little gourd plant. I just planted some gourd seeds to see what would happen. He's okay, he's a little dry. He could probably use a little more soil maybe around him, but I just wanted to see what happened. This is all about just having some fun. I planted seed, I put a little bit of soil in here just to see if it would work out. We have a little cat, neighborhood cat, who is joining us right now. So if you see a tail or a paw, it's him coming around. Anyways, back to the gourd. I wanted to see what happened. You can see it's kind of dry. It's been just a dry week. Our hose had broken. It's just been kind of one of those things, everything happening at once. So I need to get back out to watering every day. But this is actually weirdly growing. So let's see what happens, you know? I had planted other seeds here. They didn't come up. Also, we have pesky squirrels. So what's happening here? This is hard to see because of the shade, the lighting, and because it probably just looks like a weed. But this is a peanut plant, and I have about 4 of them here, and I just wanted to see if they would grow in the wood chip. So we're giving those a try, and we'll see what happens. I've also never grown peanuts, so I just don't know exactly what to expect. So to start them off growing in wood chips might have been a little bit of a mistake, but we're gonna try it because I just wanna know. But so far, so good. They look awesome. Okay, so I had more room as well on this side in the middle, and as you can see, there's 3 little soil spots. I don't know whether I put anything there or not, I can't even remember. What you can see is a half dead tomato plant that is super not happy in the wood chips. Probably not enough soil. It does not look good. So that guy, failure as far as wood chip growing goes. But we've got a pepper plant over here that is getting a thicker stem and getting kind of sturdier, but he's not doing amazing. He's not doing horrible, but it's not like, wow, look at those peppers. So we'll leave them, we'll see what happens. But so far, the potatoes are really the winner. Guys, I love this. I love finding new ways to grow, better ways to grow, and different tools. And wood chips are so easily accessible and can be gotten for free from somebody who is benefiting from dropping them off at your house. I will say, chip drop, you cannot, I don't think, really distinguish how much you want, so they might drop off tons. But wood chips are great for putting around trees, fruit trees, in the garden, using them to amend soil, using them to fill raised beds. There are so many ways of using wood chips, and now that I know I can grow potatoes, that is like such a game changer for me. And I've heard of people growing sweet potatoes in them as well, which is something I want to get more into as I learn more about growing sweet potatoes. There are so many ways to grow in your garden. There are so many ways to grow in containers, and there are so many benefits of learning how to use soil, straw, and wood chips in your garden, whether that is just to suppress weeds, whether that is to build up your soil, or whether that is to almost replace your soil and have it decompose and create great soil for you. There are so many creative ways, and guys, I am so excited to be experimenting this year to see what happens and to continue doing that experimentation as the years go on. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I really enjoyed talking about it. It's kind of something that I'm excited about, and I just love learning new ways to garden. So guys, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. Please share it with your friends and your family. And as always, please subscribe to the channel. It's really one of the best ways to support us in creating this content for you. Until next time, guys, we'll see you soon.